Forget Netflix and chill. It's time for nightmare and thrill. Join Manhwa. Novel recap as our hero tackles intense battles, tricky twists, and escalating drama. Can he hold on without rage quitting? Hit that like button for extra courage points and subscribe because survival is better with friends. Without further ado, let's get into the action. Seemed like Castor just ceased to exist. Gone. Vanished. But this isn't some cheap parlor trick, folks. This is raw, unadulterated speed, so fast the human eye just can't process it. Our boy Sunny, though? His shadow sight? A literal cheat code for perception. Let him see it, if only as a hazy blur. And even with that OP ability, Nephis still managed to react. She deflected the direct hit, but it wasn't enough. That impact still sent her spinning. Now, Castor pulls the classic move, disappear, reposition, attack from the blind spot. He's behind her, committed to the finishing blow. Nephis, seemingly oblivious, prepares to strike where he was. This is it. Game over, right? W-R-O-N. At the absolute last second, Nephis pivots, throws an elbow back with a force that would shatter lesser men. Castor's eyes? Wide as saucers. It was a feint, people, a masterclass in misdirection. He'd committed, he was a victim of inertia, and that elbow was coming in hot. He'd barely dodged it, by a hair's breadth. That speed advantage? Yeah, it's real, but here's where it gets interesting. Castor trips her, sends her flying, then gently grabs her collar, slowing the fall, letting her land softly. No impact, no injury. This isn't just a win, it's a statement. The whole exchange? 2 seconds flat. Back in his room, Sunny is reeling. An ascended aspect? That's cheating. And he's not wrong. A sleeper shouldn't be that fast. But then, Castor's a legacy. How many soul shards has that kid been force-fed? This is the resource disparity in action, folks. Some start the race miles ahead. The other sleepers? Gaping, whispering, blown away. But Castor? He's not elated. In fact, he's got this unreadable, almost grim look in his eyes when he glances at Nephis. Why? Because he, Nephis, Instructor Rock, and our ever-observant Sunny saw the real picture. Nephis didn't use her aspect ability. Not once. Nobody even knows what it is. And yet Castor, with his broken-level speed, barely clutched a victory. Sunny's thought? What a monster. And his shadow? Yeah, it wholeheartedly agreed. This is survival stripped to the bone, where raw talent outstrips even OP abilities. After that, the combat class wraps. Sunny, being the shrewd operator he is, sends his shadow into the boys' locker room. Not to creep, mind you, but for intel. Rule 1, never trust comfort. Comfort kills. And information? Information is the ultimate survival tool. Sure enough, Castor is surrounded by adoring fans. But his mood? Darker than a moonless night. The more they praise him, the grimmer he gets. Aspect is overpowered. That Nephis girl stood no chance. She's just a wannabe. Then Castor snaps. He glares at the last boy, another legacy, and spits. You should know better. Why? The arrogant kid asks. Something special about that peasant girl. Sunny is screaming in his head. Just say it, spit it out. And thankfully, the arrogant fool is thinking the same thing. Castor finally drops the bomb. She is Nephis of the Immortal Flame clan. And the air just drops. The arrogant legacy goes ghost white. Castor isn't done. Her grandfather? The first human to conquer the second nightmare and become a master. Her parents? Smile of heaven and broken sword. The first to conquer the third nightmare and become a saint. Sunny almost falls out of his chair. Even he knows those names. They're legends, heroes, humanity's saviors. Nephis isn't just an aristocrat, she's royalty. It explains Castor's reverence, his gentleness. But then, the trembling legacy asks the question echoing in Sunny's mind. Then why? Why is she so... And Castor's voice drops, heavy with grim finality. Because they're all dead. The Immortal Flame clan is long gone. She's the only one left. Silence. A chilling reminder that even the greatest power, the highest status, offers no true immunity in this nightmare world. This is the psychological strain of existence. Later that night, when everyone's asleep, Sunny sneaks back into the dojo. He stands in the ring where Nephis fought, muttering, "Monsters, both of them are monsters." He feels small, powerless. He looks at his shadow, who tries to act all cocky and disdainful, but it's a terrible act, even the shadow knows. Power on its own isn't enough. He walks over to the measuring machine, slams a punch into it. The result? A measly 9. "Are you kidding me? I deserve a 10, he yells. Slams it again. Still 9. He's a lightweight. No matter how hard he trains, his mass is a limiting factor. This is his resource scarcity laid bare. How do you survive when the very fabric of your being limits your potential? Then, it happens. A strange instinct. His shadow flows up, wraps around his hand like a black, inky glove. He slams the plate again, all his frustration channeled into that single strike. The machine trembles. Sonny yelps, his fist throbbing. The display lights up. Not 9, not even 10. EIG8T. He stares, expressionless. Then a slow, wide grin spreads across his face. I see. So that's why. Of course. He clenches his fist, gazing at the shadowy glove. This isn't just a tool. It's a combat multiplier. It's his golden finger, his cheat skill. Now we're talking. This isn't just a power-up, folks. This is Sonny, finding his unique survival advantage in a world designed to chew him up and spit him out. But what does this sudden surge in power mean for his future? Will this new ability be enough to bridge the gap between him and the true monsters of this world? Days flew by. Sonny had a countdown timer strapped to his soul. 4 weeks. 4 weeks to cram a lifetime of survival into his brain before he got dumped into the dream realm. This isn't just a study session, folks. This is a crash course in not becoming monster chow. Every minute, every breath, every neuron firing was dedicated to survival. His days were a brutal gauntlet of learning with teacher Julius. Forget your standard classroom. This was a master class in staying alive. From basic fire starting, essential for warmth, cooking, and scaring away things that go bump in the night, to the genuinely mind-bending art of celestial navigation in a place where the stars literally change their mind. Think about that for a second. The dream realm has a shifting sky, different constellations, multiple moons, and a sun that acts like a drunk uncle at a wedding. Navigating that? That's not a skill. That's a cheat code to not getting lost and dying alone. But Julius wasn't just spoon-feeding facts. He was giving Sonny the why. Understanding the underlying principles of the dream realm isn't just knowledge. It's adaptability. It's the difference between memorizing a map and understanding how to draw one from scratch when the world shifts beneath your feet. This is how you build a true survivor. Even the dead languages, which Sonny initially dismissed as useless, turned out to be a goldmine. Because, surprise, the spell itself communicates in one of them. Suddenly, the esoteric becomes terrifyingly practical. Understanding the nuances of language, the true meaning behind a name like Changing Star versus Star of Change, or even Ruinous Star or Star of Misfortune, isn't just academic. It's a tactical advantage. Imagine misinterpreting a warning from the spell because you missed a single rune. That's a death sentence right there. And talk about a glow-up. Sonny, the kid who barely had 2 copper coins to rub together, is now living the high life. Food, shelter, unlimited access to knowledge, all provided by the government. This isn't just privilege. This is resource optimization on a grand scale. Every basic need handled, allowing the MC to focus 100% on leveling up. He's effectively in a hyper-accelerated training chamber, but don't mistake comfort for weakness. Rule 1, never trust comfort. Comfort kills. Julius ensured there was no time for philosophical navel-gazing. Practical lessons, often in full immersion VR, pushing Sonny to the brink of physical collapse. Bone-tired, utterly exhausted, but forged anew. His body, already enhanced by the first nightmare, was now being pushed to its peak. Strength, stamina, agility, improving by leaps and bounds. This isn't just training. It's a recalibration of his very being. And then there's the secret sauce, Sonny's nighttime activities. While everyone else is sleeping, or maybe engaging in a bit of danger-induced romance, because, let's face it, 100 hot young people locked underground with a death threat looming, sparks are gonna fly. Sunny is out there, or rather, his shadow is. His shadow scout ability is pure intelligence gathering, sending his independent shadow to spy on other sleepers, listening in, observing their aspect abilities and flaws. This is crucial intel, folks. Knowing your allies, and more importantly, your potential rivals or threats, is paramount in any high-stakes environment. The only hiccup? The shadow's a bit naive, bringing back juicy gossip instead of tactical data. You can almost hear Sunny sighing, "No, not who's hooking up. I need to know their OP abilities." But the real golden finger here is the experimentation with shadow control. This isn't just for Sunny himself. He discovered his shadow can enhance objects. Wrap it around a weapon, double damage. Armor, double sturdiness. This is massive. Most aspects specialize in one thing: speed, defense, offense. But Shadow Slave? It's a Swiss Army knife of power. With Shadow Sight, Shadow Step, and Shadow Scout on top of that, this isn't just an OP ability. This is a full-blown cheat skill that could make him a bona fide powerhouse among sleepers. Days melted into weeks. The grind was relentless, the exhaustion profound, but the progress was undeniable. Just like that, the winter solstice arrived. The time for preparation is almost over. What do you think is the most valuable lesson Sunny learned in this brutal training montage? On the day of the winter solstice, Sunny woke up already feeling the cold touch of the spell's icy fingers. That draining, soul-sucking drowsiness? He knew it. It was the same sinister lullaby that sang to him before his first nightmare, the same chilling embrace he felt while slowly freezing to death on Black Mountain. The kid's seen some things, folks. He knows the Grim Reaper's vibe. This was it. His last day on Earth, at least for a while. By nightfall, the spell would yank him back into the dream realm, a place that chewed up souls and spat out husks. Was luck on his side this time? Or was he heading straight for another disaster? Sunny had done everything. Studied, trained, kept his aspect a secret, his will to survive. Forged in the fires of the outskirts and tempered by literal nightmares. He was ready. Or so he told himself. He went through his morning routine. A hot shower? Probably his last for a long time. A scrumptious breakfast? Yeah, no, the MC had zero appetite. The cafeteria was packed with other sleepers, but the usual boisterous energy was gone. Everyone was quiet, introspective. Even the legacies. Those kids born with silver spoons and golden fingers were keeping to themselves. The gravity of the situation was finally sinking in. Then, a strange moment. Sunny, trying to establish some semblance of normalcy, some kind of weird tradition, decided to add sugar and milk to his coffee again, just like he'd seen others do. He took his usual seat near Cassia, the blind girl. They were compulsory seatmates, but had never spoken. So, of course, the moment he takes a sip of his coffee, she turns her beautiful, blind blue eyes straight at him. Creepy, right? Sunny, unnerved, asks, What? And Cassia, with zero preamble, just drops it, Happy birthday. Sunny blinked. His birthday? He'd completely forgotten. 17. What a milestone. He looked at her, trying to figure out how she knew, but then just let it go. She was too much. Thanks. Then she turned away, losing interest just as quickly as she'd gained it. Typical. 17. He'd never been sure he'd even make it to this age. Life, huh? Unpredictable. He forced himself to smile. This isn't bad. Let's do it again next year, when I'm all ready and awakened. That's the Sunny we know. Pragmatism over sentimentality, always. Survive first. Regret later. No classes today. He said goodbye to teacher Julius, who got all emotional, giving him a dozen last tips. Then, as the sun began to set, Instructor Rock gathered them. It was time for the final walk to the Academy's medical center. This place wasn't just a hospital. It was a shrine. High-tech pods, powerful healers ready to sustain their bodies. But whether or not their souls returned, that was entirely up to the sleepers. Instead of going straight to the pods, Instructor Rock led them to a deserted floor, into a brightly lit gallery. And there, in rows and rows of wheelchairs, were the hollow, people with blank, peaceful, empty expressions, motionless, silent, just gone. Sunny's blood ran cold. Their souls are gone. Instructor Rock's voice was grim. Each one of them was once either a sleeper or an awakened. Some weak, some incredibly powerful. All of them perished in the dream realm. He looked directly at Castor and Nephis. If you're lucky, your body dies when your spirit is destroyed, but if not, you'll become just like them, hollow, a beat. So don't die out there. That's the unspoken rule of the dream realm, isn't it? Death isn't the worst fate. Being a walking, breathing shell is. That's the real horror. Half an hour later, they were in their individual rooms, preparing to enter the pods. Cassia, the blind girl, was crying, helpless in the unfamiliar space. Castor, the proud legacy, was trembling, repeating some strange phrase to himself, utterly broken. And Nephis, the last daughter of the immortal Flame Clan, her hands glowing with soft white radiance, her face twisted in an agony that was almost visible. And then there was Sunny, shadow slave, sunless, lost from light. He looked at his own shadow. "Well, are you ready?" The shadow just shrugged. No answer. Sunny sighed, a quiet admission of the dread and the resolve that warred within him. "Yeah, me too." And with that, he stepped into the pod. In the vast, echoing darkness, a voice, or perhaps the spell itself, boomed, "Welcome to the dream realm, Sunless." He's in. The game is on. What kind of hell do you think awaits our MC this time? Sunny was expecting to first look at the place where his arrival to the dream realm was going to take place from above, just like it had happened at the beginning of the first nightmare. A nice, calm, cheat sheet rewind of the environment, right? A chance to scout, to prepare. Comfort. Instead, the spell dropped him straight into the deep end. Literally. Blind and drowning, salty water rushing down his throat. His usual OP site? Buffed into the ground, completely useless. This isn't just a bad spawn point, folks. This is a void spawn point. Every step could be fatal. He can't afford to waste a single breath. Luckily, his shadow affinity provided just enough spatial awareness to figure out which way was up. And thank the stars for Teacher Julius's swimming lessons. In a moment of pure, primal terror, Sunny forced himself to stay calm. That's a key survival trait right there, composure under fire. He didn't panic, he executed. After a few agonizing seconds, he broke the surface. But what awaited him was no better. An endless, jet-black expanse of undulating waves under an empty, lightless sky. No moon, no stars, just oppressive nothingness. This is survival stripped to the bone. Then, a ripple. A triangular dorsal fin, hundreds of meters away, yet eerily clear. That's when the real dread set in. If he could see it so clearly from that distance, how big was this thing? By his estimation, that fin alone was at least 5 meters tall. This wasn't a fish. This was a Leviathan. Rule 1, never trust comfort. Comfort kills. And in this starless void, the comfort of being alone was about to be shattered. Desperate, Sunny spotted a black mass, a potential refuge. He started swimming, a frantic, desperate churn of limbs, but the Colossus was closing the distance faster. This was a high-risk move, but sometimes risk is the only way out. In a flash of pure genius, he commanded his shadow to wrap around him, doubling his speed. His golden finger just activated, giving him that vital edge. He barely made it, scrambling onto the uneven surface as the entire platform shuddered. Then, the monster's terrifying jaws emerged, teeth like spears. He was too small to be a meal, yet it lunged. But here's the twist. The kind of plot development that makes you question everything you thought you knew about the dream realm. Before the monster could strike, a colossal tentacle erupted from the water, snaking around the behemoth and dragging it back into the abyss. Sunny, legs gone, realized it wasn't trying to eat him. It was trying to run away. A few minutes later, with the immediate threat gone, Sunny could finally assess his surroundings. A single, 12-meter-wide stone platform. Man-made, perhaps? In the dream realm, who knows what man-made truly means? This tiny island was his entire world, floating in an endless sea of darkness. And then, the other vital survival detail, he was completely naked. In his defense, clothes are the last thing on your mind when a Leviathan is trying to make you a snack. But thankfully, his puppeteer's shroud was a click away, providing not just covering but warmth. basic needs secured. He sat, waited, talked to his unseen shadow, a small comfort in the crushing void. He waited for hours, listening to the indifferent waves. Then, a subtle shift. The sky began to gray, a pale sun rose, a new day had come, and with it, the dark sea suddenly surged. What kind of new horrors do you think a new day brings to a place this utterly, soul-crushingly desolate? The black, opaque water suddenly surged and seethed, as though a living creature desperately trying to avoid the pale light of the coming dawn. Our MC, Sonny, slowly rose, cautiously approaching the edge of his stone platform. And then, he blinked. The sea was receding. And not just a little. Slowly at first, then faster and faster, the water level dropped. That circular stone formation he'd been clinging to, barely protruding from the waves, was suddenly meters and meters above the churning surface. As the sun climbed, this monstrous ebb tide continued, transforming his small island into the peak of a towering, irregular cliff, 100-meter drop separating him from the water below. Now, this is where it gets wild. As the water plummeted, the dark surface began to be punctured by sharp crimson blades. Imagine a forest, but it's rising from the abyss, made of something resembling colossal coral, chaotic, entwining, merging. A labyrinth of red and black, stretching as far as Sonny could see, broken only by protruding cliffs and sudden chasms. Half an hour later, the sea was just gone, completely vanished. If not for the black seaweed clinging to the wet rock and those scarlet coral pillars, you'd never know it was ever there, his small island. It was now the headless peak of a 200-meter-tall, irregularly shaped cliff. His head was spinning. Mine too, honestly. Rule Pornay, never trust comfort. Comfort kills. And here, comfort just vanished, revealing a whole new level of nightmare. Despite the sudden disappearance of the dark sea and its lurking monsters, Sonny was in no rush to climb down. Smart move. If the sea can disappear, it can sure as hell come back. And what new horrors did this coral nightmare hide? But not exploring? That's not how we survive. So, Sonny did what any tactical genius with an OP ability would do. He sent his shadow. Separating it from his body, he commanded it to nimbly slide down the cliff face. This is classic Golden Finger strategy right here, using a low-risk scout to map out the danger zone. The shadow has no weight, isn't affected by gravity, and can move from one patch of darkness to another. Talk about a cheat skill for exploration. While his silent partner was busy rappelling down an insane vertical drop, Sonny tried to give it a name. Shameless? Shady? Our resident silent partner, the Shadow, who apparently has opinions but no vocal cords, was not impressed. Guess we'll shelve that conversation for later. By the time Sonny finished his one-sided monologue, the Shadow had reached the bottom, its range just barely enough to start exploring the immediate surroundings. And what it found? Hoo boy! The labyrinth was disorienting, convoluted. Paths broad, paths narrow, twisting, turning, often leading to dead ends or back where it started. Some even plunged into dark tunnels within the coral mounds. This place was a multi-layered headache. Sonny, tired of memorizing dead ends, sent the Shadow up, forcing it to climb atop the crimson forest, jumping from sharp coral blade to blade. He knew damn well he couldn't do that himself. And then he froze, scared by the sight in the shadow of his own cliff. The corpse of that giant shark-like creature from the previous night was there, half of it gone, grotesque innards spilling out. And around it? Hundreds of smaller monsters, scurrying, tearing, devouring, each of them 2.5 meters tall, a demonic mix of crab, centaur, and nightmare. 4 pairs of scythe-like legs, chitinous armor, a human-like torso with pincers instead of hands, and a head that was just eye slits and slimy mandibles. They were feasting, fighting over juicy chunks, tearing each other apart. Sonny swallowed, not just from nervousness but from hunger. Each one looked like trouble, and there were hundreds of them. His luck, as always, was utterly awful. At least now he knew why the labyrinth felt so empty. Everyone was at the buffet. Feeling a little exposed, Sonny commanded his shadow to look back, to study the cliff he was on. Something about it was making him uneasy. And as the shadow looked up and Sonny shifted his perspective, it clicked. That's a finger. That's a hand. That is, a sword? It was a statue. An ancient, colossal, man-made statue, at least 200 meters tall. A knight in elaborate plate armor, 7 shining stars carved into his breastplate, holding a gargantuan sword pointed to the ground. And the most striking thing? The giant stone knight was missing his head. Sunny's circular platform was the top of his neck, violently torn off. What on earth is this place? Without any answers, Sunny had his shadow settle down and observe the feasting monsters until the sun began to set. And just as he expected, as the sun touched the horizon, a deafening rumble shook the air. The monsters instantly stopped, scurrying into the coral pillars or burying themselves in the soil. Minutes later, the first streams of black water appeared. Then an apocalyptic flood. The sea was returning. In an hour, the circular platform was the only thing above the dark waters once again. Sunny had just witnessed the entire ecosystem reset itself. This isn't just a tide, it's a pulse, a deadly, rhythmic heartbeat of this nightmare world. So the question is, with this new, terrifying knowledge of the ebb and flow and the hundreds of monsters that emerge with the low tide, what's Sunny's next move? Does he try to find that missing head? Or is it time to look for an exit? Sat down. That's what Sunny did. Sat down with an empty stomach and a head full of grim, terrifying thoughts. Rule porn of survival. Rest is a weapon, but it's a double-edged sword when your mind is screaming, threat, threat, threat. He tried to sleep, sending his trusty Shadow on watch duty. A smart move, that Shadow is a bona fide cheat skill in his hellscape. But comfort kills, doesn't it? In the dead of the night, a gut feeling, a survival instinct as sharp as a razor jolted him awake. He's already thinking giant tentacles, deep-sea horrors, human meat on the menu. But the sea? Quiet, calm, too calm. And then the shadow pointed. A tiny orange flicker in the distant darkness. A few kilometers out. What is it? Other sleepers, trapped like him? A natural phenomenon? Or, the most chilling possibility, a monstrous predator baiting a trap? His mind immediately went to the deep-water nightmares. This is survival stripped to the bone, folks. Every decision is life or death. Morning broke, and the pincer monsters returned to their macabre feast on the giant carcass. Sunny watched, calculating. He then went to eye that mysterious orange light source again. A massive coral pillar, just high enough to poke out of the water at night. Now, here's the strategic dilemma. Can he even get there through this twisted labyrinth? And more importantly, should he? There's no golden finger-flashing quest objective here, just pure, unadulterated risk. That light could be his salvation, or it could be the glowing eyes of something that wants to turn him into kibble. Logically, staying on that statue is the safest bet. But safety doesn't solve dehydration or starvation. He's got the knowledge from Teacher Julius, desalination, hunting pincer monsters. One of those beasts could feed him for weeks. He could totally establish a routine, hunt by day, retreat to the statue by night, a perfectly safe, perfectly miserable existence. But Sunny isn't just about surviving, he's about living, and living in constant fear, stuck on a rock, just waiting to die? That's not a life. That's a slow, agonizing end. So, the only choice left? Go for the light. High risk, high reward. That's how you break out of a death trap. And if he's going, he needs to go now, before those pincer monsters finish their meal and start roaming the labyrinth. He spent the rest of the day planning, scouting with his shadow. Preparations. Mental fortitude. He was going to move the next morning. And then, just when he thought he had a plan, Mother Nature decided to remind him who's boss. A sudden violent storm descended. Winds that could peel flesh, rain that felt like bullets. But for a man dying of thirst, that pelting rain, a godsend. Sunny cupped his hands, drinking greedily, a wide, almost deranged grin splitting his face under the lightning flashes. He clung to that statue like glue, waves crashing, muscles screaming. This is what it means to be alive in the dream realm. By morning, sore as hell but hydrated, he made his move. The pincer monsters were still feasting, a perfect distraction. He slid over the edge, climbing down with the precision of a seasoned rock climber, Thanks again to Teacher Julius and his shadow pre-scouting the optimal path. Stepping onto the ground, into the black mud, something shifted in him. Being passive was killing his spirit. Now, even if he failed, he was failing on his own terms. Trying and failing is always, always better than not trying at all. He moved through the crimson labyrinth, the mud surprisingly manageable. A shadow made his steps silent, a huge tactical advantage. As he delved deeper, the labyrinth swallowed the world around him. It felt endless. He sent the shadow ahead, his OP ability mapping paths, scouting for danger. Things were going smoothly, too smoothly perhaps. He even started to notice the terrifying amount of unrecognizable bones embedded in the mud. And that's the trap, isn't it? When things go well, when you're prepared, when your shadow scout is on point, you lower your guard. A little arrogance, a little self-congratulation, and that, my friends, is when the nightmare strikes. The mud directly in front of him moved, a fraction of a second late to react. A massive pincer shot out, aiming to cut him clean in half. What was Sunny's biggest mistake here? His arrogance? Or was it just the cruel reality of the dream realm? Was the only thought in Sunny's head as he awkwardly tumbled backward, the massive pincer of an unseen monster snapping shut right where his face had been a split second before. Talk about a rude awakening. He lands flat on his back, a move that saves his life but leaves him totally exposed. You know the drill, on the ground, vulnerable. One wrong step here means death. But our boy Sunny isn't just lying there waiting to be curb-stomped. He desperately rolls, dodging a follow-up lunge that would have caved in his chest. And then, here's where the strategy kicks in. Instead of trying to outrun or block the next swipe, he goes with it. He lets the pincer hit his outstretched hands, cushioning the blow and using its own force to send himself flying out of range. This isn't just luck. It's leveraging every advantage, turning a defensive hit into a tactical repositioning. The man might not have been taught to fight, but he knows how to fall with style, rolling expertly to create vital distance. He even internally admits that maybe, just maybe, all those sarcastic thoughts about heroes' battle rolls were a little premature. Sometimes, a good roll is the ultimate cheat skill. Now, the attacker finally reveals itself. And what a beast! Towering at almost 3 meters, a carapace scavenger emerges from the mud, enraged and hungry. But hold on, astute viewers, this isn't your average boss monster. Our MC has stumbled into something far more pathetic. This crab bastard is in terrible shape. Half its legs shattered, cracks in its thick carapace oozing azure blood, and it's even missing an entire pincer arm. This isn't a prime hunter. This is a cripple, relegated to ambushing easy prey because it can't compete for the main feast. This is a classic power matchup gone sideways. Sunny relied too much on his shadow scouting, forgetting that while it's weightless and inaudible, it's not a super sensor. The monster didn't react to the shadow passing over because, well, it couldn't perceive it. But here's the twist. This very oversight also saved him. If this thing was at full strength, Sunny wouldn't have even had a chance to dodge that first strike. He's unlucky to be ambushed, but lucky the ambusher is effectively neutered. No time for philosophical ponderings, though. Sunny immediately calls his shadow back, activating that golden finger. He then jumps, dodging another devastating pincer strike that tears apart the coral pillar he just occupied. He's hoping his speed can outmatch this bulky, wounded creature, but surprise. The scavenger is surprisingly agile, its remaining scythe-like legs piercing the mud, its pincer already flying through the air again, aiming for a decapitation. Our MC ducks, buying himself a precious second. His eyes dart around, desperately searching for a weapon. And just like that, he spots it, a long, smooth, sharp bone, almost a spear. He snatches it, pulling it from the mud. But here's the tactical problem. Even with this makeshift spear, his range is still shorter than the monster's. And let's be real, that bone isn't piercing thick carapace. He needs to get close, aim for those pre-existing cracks in the armor. But getting close means risking being crushed into paste by the monster's sheer weight. Efficiency over bravado is the mantra here. But what's efficient when every option seems suicidal? A crazy idea sparks in Sunny's mind, so audacious, so utterly foolish, he dismisses it almost instantly. Almost. Then, a sharp pain lances through his left leg. He was a little slow, grazed by the pincer. His puppeteer's shroud holds, preventing a bleed, but the impact throws him tumbling. There's no time to recover. It's time to act crazy. Instead of dodging, instead of trying to escape, Sonny stops moving. He allows the monstrous pincer to grab him across his torso. This is it, folks, the ultimate high-stakes gamble. He's betting everything on his puppeteer's shroud, the armor of an awakened tyrant, to withstand the crushing pressure. His muscles scream, delaying the inevitable pulverization. And just in the nick of time, his shadow, that OP ability, wraps itself around the shroud, enhancing its protective properties. This is a masterclass in strategic choices under pressure, using his resources to turn the monster's strength against itself. They're at an impasse. Sonny can't break free, but the monster can't crush him. The creature, in its simple, bestial cunning, adapts. Its tiny eye ignites with an insane fire. It raises Sonny to its mouth, planning to bite his head off. Why is everyone trying to eat me? He thinks. And honestly, it's a fair question. But Sonny isn't struggling. He knew he'd have only one shot. In a final, desperate move, he allows his shadow to flow from the shroud onto the bone spear he's still clutching. That's right, he's enchanting his weapon. Then, gathering every ounce of strength, he thrusts the dark bone spear forward, aiming for the one true weakness he knows, the eye. The spear sinks deep. Gritting his teeth through the agony in his ribs, he twists the bone, going for maximum brain damage. For a couple of agonizing seconds, nothing. Then, the pressure on his ribs diminishes. The pincer opens, dropping Sonny. The hulking carapace scavenger crashes to the ground, the bone spear still impaled in its eye, azure blood gushing. Our MC has done it. He survived by leaning into the danger, by forcing the fight onto his terms, by using every single resource, every single advantage, no matter how small or how insane the plan. The reward? A new memory, azure blade, and a stronger shadow. What kind of power will Sonny unlock with this new memory? And how will this brutal encounter change his approach to future fights? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Sprawled in the mud, Sonny was just trying to catch a breath when the spell's voice echoed, "Your shadow grows stronger." And just like that, a subtle shift, a little stronger, a little sharper. What was that? Turns out, Sonny just unlocked his personal, bespoke golden finger. He now gains shadow fragments simply by taking down enemies. This isn't your run-of-the-mill soul shard collection, folks. This is a direct, instant power-up, skipping all the pesky extraction and consumption steps. A dormant beast? 1 fragment. An awakened enemy? 2 per core. Talk about an OP ability. The catch? He has to be the one to directly finish them off. No passive gains from his intricate manipulations, no fragments from the poor souls who met their end thanks to his machinations. This isn't a choice, it's a mandate. If Sonny wants to grow, he has to fight. There's no peaceful citadel life for this MC. He's basically a walking, breathing, shadow-absorbing murder machine now. But here's the kicker. This unique progression path actually makes him more efficient. Since he doesn't need soul shards to strengthen his core, he can spend every single one he collects on whatever he wants. He's effectively twice as efficient at stacking those precious soul shards, turning every kill into both a power-up and currency. Plus, strengthening his shadow core benefits both him and his shadow, a 2-fold enhancement for every fragment. Not bad? That's an understatement. The future is bright, provided he, has a future. And speaking of bright, his runes finally showed a new memory, Azure Blade. Finally, the MC gets a proper weapon. And what a beauty it is! A sharp, single-edged sword of azure steel, sparking with white light and long enough for 2 hands. But the true magic? When he wraps his shadow around it, the blade turns a terrifying bluish black, like a starlit night sky. This isn't just a sword, it's an extension of his unique power, making him truly look like a real awakened. That was a high-risk move to get it, but sometimes risk is the only way out. After extracting the soul shard from the dead carapace scavenger, which, as expected, did nothing for him directly, and salvaging some meat, Sonny had to face the music. His left leg was busted, his progress slowed to a painful crawl, and the labyrinthine paths of the forgotten shore were getting more confusing. The tide was coming back, and he was running out of time. Every step could be fatal. He couldn't afford to waste a single breath. This is survival stripped to the bone. The psychological strain must have been immense. He gritted his teeth, limping, trying to choose his path carefully to avoid ambushes, all while knowing that a single wrong turn could seal his fate. He was in a full-blown panic. And then, just when he's about to hit rock bottom, the universe throws a curveball. His shadow spots something. Beyond a few turns, in a small clearing, someone is walking across the mud. And who is it? None other than Nephis, the changing star, looking, well, tropical, if you catch my drift. Short silver hair, makeshift seaweed attire, and in one hand she's holding a strange golden rope, and on the other end of that rope, carefully following behind, Cassia, the blind girl. Rule 1, never trust comfort. Comfort kills. Even if it's familiar faces, this changes everything in this nightmare. What are they doing here? And what does this mean for Sunny's already slim odds of survival? A dream-like canvas, truly. Gray above, black below, and a bloody crimson sea stretching out, as if the world itself was blushing at the sheer audacity of two beautiful girls traversing its twisted labyrinth. We've got Nephis, the delicate, almost ethereal one with eyes like a summer sky and a cloak the color of ocean waves. And then there's Cassia, the live, silver-haired enigma, clad in barely there black seaweed, barefoot and alert, tethered to Nephis by a golden rope. Oh, what a pair! Meanwhile, our favorite MC, Sunny, is doing what he does best, lurking. Peeking from the shadows, he spots them, and his little heart does a jig. People. Real, live, useful people. Suddenly, the crushing tide that's about to turn him into a very flat pancake doesn't seem quite so inevitable. He's thinking, finally, a way out of this nightmare. But then, the existential dread hits. How do you approach two formidable, probably traumatized, gorgeous women when your entire reputation at the academy is that of a social pariah, a walking, talking creep? The irony is just delicious. Our boy, bless his misguided heart, decides the safest approach is to send his shadow ahead, because nothing says, "I'm not a threat," like a silent, inky silhouette waving awkwardly from the gloom, right? Roll the dice. Oh look, he survived. Barely. Before the shadow can even take 2 steps, Nephis, the changing star, snaps her hand out, a sword materializing instantly, piercing the very air, and those sharp gray eyes lock onto the poor mimic. The shadow freezes, probably rolling its own eyes at Sunny's lack of social grace. Cassia, ever the practical one, senses something's off. "Neph, what is it?" she asks, her blind gaze unsettlingly keen. Nephis, ever the strong, silent type, delivers the most unhelpful intel. There's a shadow. You can practically feel Cassia's internal panic, thinking of ravenous scavengers. But no, the changing star clarifies, with a hint of confusion in her voice. It's a human shadow. And then, the moment that truly defines this whole interaction, it's waving at us. A full minute of silence. Just the sound of the dream world winds. Cassia finally breaks it with a bewildered, "What?" And Nephis repeats it, flatly. "I said, it's waving." The sheer awkwardness of it all. I love a good despair spiral, don't you? Sunny, deciding the charade has gone on long enough, steps into the spotlight. Or rather, he speaks from the shadows, trying to sound friendly. "Actually, I just sent it ahead to make sure that you don't stab me with that sword before realizing that I'm human." "Oh, you sweet summer child." Immediately, Nephis's head snaps to his hiding spot, sword shifting, pinpointing him with deadly accuracy. "If you're human, why are you hiding in the shadows like a creep?" And this is where the spell's cruel hand comes into play. Our poor MC chokes, because his flaw demands the truth. I mean, you're changing star Nephis. To be honest, I'm a little afraid. The truth hurts, doesn't it, Sonny? But it works. Cassia, bless her empathetic heart, recognizes his voice from the cafeteria. "Are you the boy who sat with me in the cafeteria?" she asks. Nephis, ever the pragmatist, clarifies, "The pervert?" Ah, the sweet sting of reputation. Sunny's smile vanishes, replaced by utter exasperation. "Hey, I'm not really a pervert, you know. I just, said a few things. To a few girls. It was all a misunderstanding. Oh, the classic MC excuse. Priceless. After a beat of silence, Nephis finally, mercifully, dismisses her sword. Okay, you can come out. Sunny limps out, his shadow reattaching and visibly shaking with laughter. Even his own memories are trolling him. He's a mess, bruised and battered, and Nephis can't help but ask, "What happened to you?" "Carapace scavenger," he replies. And then comes the big reveal, the tiny face-slap moment. "I didn't get away. I killed it." He even gestures to his rucksack heavy with monster meat. Nephis, the stoic changing star, actually shows a hint of approval. Defeating an awakened beast, even a wounded one, is no small feat for a sleeper. It's almost impressive. But Sunny, thanks to his flaw, immediately deflates the moment. It was already wounded. Oh, the agony of honesty. Now for the big ask. Sunny needs to get to the tall hill, a safe haven from the coming tide, and his injuries have slowed him down. Do you perhaps know the way? Cassia, ever the beacon of good news, smiles. Actually, we spent the last days on that hill. We were just about to go back. The audience is always hungry for blood, but sometimes a bit of hope makes the despair all the sweeter later. Well, can I come with you? Sunny asks, his heart pounding. Cassia turns to Nephis, a silent question in her blind eyes. And Nephis, the queen of suspense, fixes her gaze on Sunny and says, "No, gasp, problem. Oh, the humanity, the sheer unadulterated trolling. What's the point of fairness in a game like this if you can't toy with the MC's fragile hopes a little? So our battered hero has found his golden ticket, for now. But the game isn't over. It never is. Do you think Sunny's troubles are truly behind him? Or is this just the calm before a much more delicious storm? Padded through the crimson labyrinth, a path carved by Nephis, the MC and Cassia moved with a new, unsettling efficiency. No dead ends, no backtracking. This isn't just about speed, it's about conserving every ounce of energy, every drop of sweat. In this realm, wasted effort is a down payment on your own grave. But there's a catch, a glaring inefficiency, Cassia. She moves at a glacial pace, her staff tapping the treacherous ground. From Sunny's perspective, she's pure dead weight. And he's not wrong. In a survival scenario, you jettison anything that slows you down, anything that saps resources, anything that becomes a liability. His internal monologue is brutal, but realistic. Misguided kindness is a sure way to end up dead. He'd hoped for some hidden OP aspect, a cheat skill that would offset her blindness. But no, just a slow, vulnerable target. How is Nephis tolerating this? It's a calculated risk, or a fatal flaw in her judgment. Rule 1, never trust comfort. Comfort kills. And comfort here is thinking you can carry someone without consequences. They hit the coral hill just as the sun starts dipping. Nephis pulls out what Sunny quickly realizes is a memory, a golden rope. And get this, it extends. Suddenly, this isn't just a rope, it's a multi-tool. A climbing aid, a potential trap, a lifeline. This is a game-changer utility, memory. Nephis scales the pillar like a spider monkey, waving for Sunny to follow. Now, here's a survivalist's moment of truth. Sunny hesitates. His mind immediately goes to the absolute worst-case scenario, Nephis cutting him down as he climbs, helpless. It's paranoid, sure, but in the dream realm, paranoia is just good planning. He quickly dismisses it, not out of trust, but out of cold, hard logic. If she wanted him dead, she wouldn't need this elaborate setup. She could have done it any time. Simultaneously terrified and reassured by that thought. That's the psychological strain of this place, stripped to the bone. Cassia's ascent is equally telling. Nephis simply pulls her up. It's efficient, yes, but it reinforces the dynamic, one physically reliant, the other providing the raw strength. Their camp is a basic setup on the coral mound seaweed beds, drying meat, and a fire pit. That fire pit is a massive red flag. Sunny immediately asks about it, recalling an orange glow 2 nights prior. Cassia's face darkens. They made a fire, and it attracted scavengers. Then, the colossal tentacle. This is a critical lesson learned the hard way. Fire, which normally provides warmth and safety, is a death beacon in the dream realm. Sunny realizes he was lucky to meet them. He was planning to make his own fire tonight. This insight alone could be the difference between life and a horrifying death. Then comes the resource exchange. Sunny offers his fresh meat. He asks for water. And Cassia. Cassia pulls out a beautiful blue glass bottle. It's always full. My friends, this is the golden finger. An endless water supply. Think about the implications. Hydration is a constant draining battle in any survival situation. This isn't just convenient, it's a monumental advantage. Even with its limitation. It'll run dry if you just let it pour, but then quickly refills. This memory elevates Cassia from pure liability to an essential resource node. Sunny's silent envy is palpable. His loud bell looks like a child's toy next to this. A brief, tense moment when Nephis reaches into Sunny's rucksack for the meat and the soul shard rolls out. She sees it. She doesn't comment. That's silence? That's not a pass, that's an acknowledgement. She knows. And that knowledge is a card she now holds. As the meat cooks, the black water begins to rise. Night approaches. Sunny asks the obvious survival question, do scavengers come up here at night? Nephis confirms it. But Sunny, with his recent first-hand experience, offers a tactical insight. The scavengers are gathered around the massive carcass of the sea creature he found. This explains the why of the daytime monster scarcity. Nephis's reaction is immediate. She extinguishes the fire. No hesitation. That's a survivor's instinct. Adapt. Eliminate risk. They eat in the dim twilight, the meat a rare luxury. The endless water bottle passed between them. And then, the darkness consumes everything. In the true night, Cassia's facade drops. She's lost, lonely, scared. It's a glimpse into the psychological toll this world takes on even the most stoic. Then a moment of awkward normalcy. Introductions. Cassie, Neph, and finally Sunless. The relief that washes over Sunny when they don't directly ask for his name, allowing him to use his Dream Realm moniker, speaks volumes about the deep-seated fear of his flaw being exposed. So, the trio is established. A pragmatic leader, a vital resource, and a paranoid survivor. They found a temporary haven, but the threats are ever present. What calculated risks will they take next, and will they pay the ultimate price? Sunny was slowly growing fond of having conversations in the dark. Now, you might think, oh, how poetic, finding peace in the shadows. But for a survivalist like me, all I see is a tactical advantage. The dark strips away the pretense, forces you to rely on sound and intuition, and in this brutal world, Rule 1, never trust comfort. Comfort kills. But sometimes, comfort is just a side effect of a strategic move. He drops the bombshell. Should we share what abilities and memories we have? Boom. This isn't small talk. This is resource assessment, pure and simple. You're in a life-or-death scenario. You need to know what your squad can do. But, of course, the MC immediately clocks the guarded look on Nephis's face. Information is power, and revealing it is always a high-stakes gamble. So, Sunny goes first, a calculated move. He controls the narrative, even if he has to tell the truth. Attributes, shadows, divinity, and getting into unlikely situations, which, let's be real, is just a fancy way of saying, I'm a magnet for trouble. And then, Cassie, the blind girl, confirms it. This is where we learn about her OP ability. She can see people's attributes, an oracle. That's a golden finger right there, but Sunny's not stupid. He immediately runs the risk assessment. Is her insight limited? Can she see my flaw? Did she see my birthday because I will survive? Or did knowing it change the future? This is the kind of psychological strain you deal with when every piece of information could be a death flag. He reveals his Shadow Scout ability, independent movement, shared senses, stealth, dark vision, an absolutely broken recon skill in this nightmare realm. You'd think the girls would be impressed, right? Wrong. Their reaction. Nephis slowly turns. Cassie goes pale, covering her chest. Oh, the classic pervert misunderstanding. Sunny's internal crap. He's gold. He quickly tries to do some damage control, insisting he's never used it improperly. Then comes the face-slapping moment. Nephis asks why she's never seen him in class. Sunny, with all the affectionate sarcasm in his voice, casually drops that. While she was busy wiping the floor with other sleepers, he was learning wilderness survival. And the look on her face? Pure bewilderment. For an elite like Changing Star, who probably had everything handed to her, the concept of basic, gritty survival skills is alien. This isn't just about class. It's about two completely different worlds colliding, showing just how out of touch the privileged can be with the brutal reality of the dream realm. Every step could be fatal, and Sunny knows it because he lived it. He lays out his memories, armor, sword, and a really loud bell. Practical. Functional. No frills. Then it's Nephis' turn. Light, fire, divinity. 2 memories, a sturdy, length-changing rope, and a soul-protecting sword. And her ability can be used to heal. That can be used, part is the analyst's red flag. What else can it do? Given she's a true name holder, a cheat skill is basically guaranteed. She's not revealing all her cards, and frankly, neither is Sunny. This is calculated risk versus recklessness in its purest form. Finally, Cassie shares. Attributes, revelations, and fate. Her oracle ability she dismisses as not very useful, which, for us, screams OP support class. 3 memories, a bottle, a wind-creating staff, and an awakened rank armor that Nephis just gave her. Think about that for a second. An awakened rank memory, a piece of equipment that is incredibly rare and valuable, just handed over. What is Nephis playing at? Is it generosity? Strategic investment? Or is she just collecting loyalties? This is resource management on a whole different level. Cassie then reveals her flaw. She used to be a fencer, but now she can't fight. She's laying her weakness bare, but Sunny and Nephis keep theirs hidden. And why wouldn't they? Trust is a luxury they can't afford right now. This is survival stripped to the bone. Then, the final power play of the night. Sunny offers his Shadow Scout for watch duty, a perfect solution. But Nephis, with that cold edge in her voice, insists she'll take watch first. She can't even see in the dark. Is it pride? Distrust? Or is she just trying to assert dominance? What do you think Nephis is truly hiding, and what's her endgame with Cassie?